He'll definitely be helping you with logistics and planning. As you'll see on page 11, it starts off with travel arrangements. So throughout the process of the trip, we'll be communicating back and forth, as details come up for travel. I'll be purchasing, I purchase your tickets, but it's always like an open communication with leaders as far as getting all the details ready for your team, getting everybody's names accurate and things like that. So it's always going to be an open communication process. As you'll see with this manual, all the meetings are laid out, meeting 1, 2, 3, so forth. We usually purchase the tickets about meeting 3, but it's always like an open communication, so that way it's not like a surprise or anything like that, but it's always about us communicating that we know exactly what's going on. So, and kind of to jump a little bit ahead for a second is that the way we kind of do all of this and the way our communication is for logistics is through Google Docs. You'll see in the appendix, it's laid out, the Google Docs from each page. If you haven't led a trip before, it just kind of shows you exactly what each page is and just what we do with communication on it. You'll see it lay out like meeting dates. It's where you're going to put all of your people that are going on your trip, like all of their names. So it's what we use to purchase the tickets, things like that. So you'll be able to see that's the place where is our hub. So that's where all this kind of comes together at. Also, within the Google Docs, you'll see that on one of the pages is a tab that we actually do the communication with finances. So I also am the one that lets you know like how much your team has in each week, things like that. So all of that will be on there. So that's like our main communication with each other. So you can read through that. Within finances, getting into that now, as you might have known before, that we have several ways that people can turn in money to the church for their trip, and you'll see on jumping to page 13 real quick, you'll see here that here are the different forms of payment methods. So this is something that we encourage to go over in a meeting just so that people kind of know that this is just basic, straightforward how you can turn in money for your trip. So it could be online, it could be credit card, cash, check. Just please utilize tithe envelopes. And we code it by your trip code, which you will also get on your Google Docs. So that's just something that you'll see in here. It'll actually say, please write this information on your the form of payment. So we encourage people to take up any funds at team meetings. So that way you can actually are keeping your team accountable and turning in funds and things like that. Also, you'll see within the Google Docs too that we're going to lay out for you. I'll lay out for you like just the flow of like when payments are going to be due and how much each payment is, and those are always going to go together with your meetings. So within that, we just really encourage everybody to just keep encouraging their team to like collect those funds and bring it to the meeting, so that way everybody's kind of staying on the same page. So this week, the plan is this week that you'll be able to, you'll be getting that information from me. So if you're set and scheduled for leading a trip this year, you'll get that information from me. So that way we'll start the communication, so that way you can just jump in and start planning for your teams. Also within that, I will be giving everybody like a sample, kind of a rough schedule of when, so that way if you're just kind of like, when am I going to actually start my meetings? When should I do it? But I'll just kind of give everybody like a rough schedule of when you should meet. So that way it'll just kind of help you get an idea of when all this process and the time frame is going to start. So it's definitely something that you can use to kind of go by as a guideline. It doesn't have to be that you stick exactly to the list of dates and everything that that I'm going to suggest to you. We just ask that everybody try to stick with it as close as possible. But always, once again, that's an open communication thing. Just let me know if you have any questions about that. But it's just something that we'll encourage that everybody try and do the best that they can. But I'll be emailing you all those details, so I just want to make sure to tell you that. Also within that, so within the finances, when I send you the reports each week, once your team starts collecting money and turning in money, you'll be able to hear from me exactly that you're actually, that the funds are actually processed by the church. So that will be done by the end of the week. Typically it's Thursdays that we'll send that out. So if you know that your team has turned in money to your meetings, or even, I'm sorry I didn't say, but if you can drop it off in the offering, like any service, you can always drop it off in offerings. If you know that stuff's been done, you'll be able to just know that you'll expect to hear from me on any finances, but if there's ever any questions at all on those details, you can also just email me back and let me know. But we ask and highly encourage everybody to just, as soon as you start getting those emails, just tell your team, you know, this is how much you have in, so that way everybody knows exactly where they're at with all their funds and their finances. So, but once again, I'm gonna lay all those details out in an email to you guys. Also, as she had mentioned, financial policy. Also, you'll see in the back of the manual, there are, on the last few pages, there's like the release forms, those things that you'll eventually cover in a meeting. But we also have that financial policy on paper here. So we just really encourage this to be something that's just kind of talked about in a meeting. So that way everybody just kind of knows on the same page as far as what is expected and not expected with finances. Things like on the back of the page, you'll see there's questions. It's on page 108. You'll see that there's questions that are like the typical things that come up with finances. We don't want it to be anything that's like awkward to cover for anybody with their team, but it's just something that kind of has just spelled out clearly, so that way there's not too many questions on exactly what's to be expected. So we just highly encourage that with funds. Anything else? I think that is it. Perfect.
I just want to add something. Dropbox. We are going to have a Dropbox here at the Midtown campus. Do you guys know where Classroom E is? This way, right? Classroom E, right across from Classroom E, used to be Volunteer Central. You guys know what I'm talking about, that classroom? Okay, so outside of that outside of that office, it's going to be Megan Pittman's office. So I think, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn. So out of that office, there's going to be like a mail slot. So we are going to install a mail slot. So if you guys are meeting here during the week for your team trainings and you have money, you don't have to go ahead and bring that home. You can go ahead and make sure everything is marked correctly with the trip code, everything like that, and then drop it off in the mail slot through the wall. I'm doing this. Is that right? Okay. Yes.
Sorry, speaking of that, team meetings. If you are going to have meetings here in the building, that's something also that I handle as well. So especially if you're meeting here and then you collect the money and then you can put it in that box, like that's something you can do. So I will actually be the one that schedules room bookings, anything like that. Just come to me once you kind of see your schedule. We kind of have to do that per semester, so we can't really exactly book, for October right now, but just let me know if you guys want to meet here. We encourage meeting here. You could do it at Starbucks or anything like that. But if you want to meet in this building, just let me know, and we can definitely work together in scheduling rooms.
Yes. So yes, we've created that Dropbox solution. It's not there yet because please do not leave any money in any of our inboxes, on Andrea's desk, outside anyone's office. It is a church, but there's some cray-cray around here, all right? So, okay, I think that was it for that. Okay, I am going to talk about, let's see, on page 16, trip leader costs. A big question comes up. I'm a leader, so how much do I pay? Okay, great question. We are offsetting your costs because obviously there's so much responsibility and time commitment it takes to spiritually and logistically lead a trip. So we do want to offset some of that with a discount. So basically how it works out is that each team member is part of their total cost is their 10% total cost is going to towards covering 2 leaders. So let's say your trip is $2,000. You have 10 team leaders. I wrote this down ahead of time. They each contribute 10% towards 2 leaders, which is $200 per person, times 10 people is $2,000, divided by 2 leaders is a $1,000 discount. All right, everyone get that? Is my math correct? Okay, good. So it basically, how much of a discount do you get? It really depends on your team size. So we gave you the percentages, so you can use your calculators and have fun. But if you have any questions at all, you can definitely ask me. I deal directly with leader trip costs because I know a lot of times leaders are like, do I need to turn in deposit? We'll work with you. So, if you're focusing on leading the team and everything like that, we might be a little bit more lax with your deposit because it might end up that, let's say you have to, when we really know is when we have to purchase airfare. That's when it basically comes down to it. But I would say to be on the safe side, go ahead and plan on fundraising. I'm sorry, not fundraising. We're not doing fundraising, but we'll get to that later. Sending out support letters, yes. And speaking of, here's Cassie.